Carl, be ready for me too, honey.
What's up, Georgia? How you doing?
Carl, you be so serious. Hi, Georgette. How are you doing today?
I said, what's up? We start like that already. You
We
sure you want to
definitely
start
got
like
to.
that?
Come on. I haven't seen you since we chatted in May.
That was May.
That was May. I know, right?
Yeah, it was May. That
That
was
was
May. Yes.
May. Look at you, looking a little scruffy. We like it.
Oh, haircut in the morning. Production. You ain't got time for all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I know. Speaking of production, so Carl, you and I chatted in May. Hold on, as I add this comment at the bottom. And you were on my podcast,
Yeah.
Black and Nuanced in HD. How do I pin? I be trying to pin stuff. Here we go. Okay, so you were on my podcast, Black and Nuanced, but then you were also on the video version, Black and Nuanced in HD. So this is our follow-up conversation. And at the time when we spoke, things were going down with the pandemic. LA was trying to open up with production, and
Yeah.
then we all obviously saw what happened with California. So fast
Yeah.
forward to now, December 2020, from when we spoke in May. Now you're on set, but now life looks a lot differently. What has Hollywood's new normal looked like since you've been on set?
Well, first of all, there was a team of scientists, filmmakers, producers, and all of the unions got together to figure out the best way to go back into production safely that allow us to get the work done without exposing people. So they created zones in production. There's every production has a COVID team that is on set to make sure everybody's physically distancing. We're tested every other day. I'm tested 3 times a week. And they have so not only are you tested, but they also have this thing called contact tracing, where if you are exposed to it or you do test positive, they're able to track all of those on the production that you've been in contact with, so that if anyone has to isolate, everyone in that exposure radius can isolate. So they've done a lot of great things that really help allow us to resume production, which is pretty cool. But it's been hiccups, it's been uncertainty. And there's been positive tests. It's been a really strong way to get back into production, especially considering how it was back in March, May, June. But it hasn't been a smooth road because productions have been shut down. You have a day like, we're gonna do this today, and then at 5 in the morning you realize we can't do that today because of something else that happened. So we have to totally redo the schedule. So sometimes you're flying by the seat of your pants, and sometimes so you're dealing with uncertainty every day. And it can hit you around the corner. It's like every day you just production's already navigating a bunch of landmines. With COVID, it's magnified landmines now, but it's still getting done. It's still happening. So I'm working on my 3rd episode since September. So it's still, like I said, it's still happening. Everybody's getting through it one day at a time. You really can't plan too far out now because of the way COVID is going. No one saw this surge coming this late in the year. You know what I'm saying? So you have to kind of, and then with the holidays and with traveling and people not really acknowledging the severity of the COVID cases and the exposure situations, every day is every day is a whole different adventure.
It's so funny you said that. So September, because when I checked in on you in September, you were literally like, "Hey, Georgette, I'm on day 12 of 14 in Vancouver," and so I had a feeling that you were actually gearing up to film something.
Yeah.
But that was your first time back since.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
And so it wasn't as severe in Vancouver. First of all, Canada didn't politicize COVID like America did. They were on it. They handled it. So the cases were they would get like 50 cases a week in certain areas where it was really low and manageable. But they still took highly precautionary measures to maintain everything. You know what I'm saying? So the experience in Canada is a little different than back in the States. In the States, it's much more severe, because of the case amounts and exposure radius. It's just much more severe, you know what I'm saying? And especially in major urban metropolis, LA, New York, Atlanta, Chicago. It's just, there's so many people. And I'm assuming COVID has modified because its contagion rate has modified because the numbers have surged so much. So, it's a whole different ballgame out here. And then you got folks out here that still don't believe it's real and don't want to wear masks and things like that. So you're dealing with and then you have the person that was in the White House that wasn't even acknowledging it until he got it. So,
I
people
don't
were
even think
looking
he
at,
got it.
huh?
I don't think he
You said
really
what?
had it though.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother conversation right there.
Right.
Bottom line, he out in a couple weeks. It's the goal now is to see how much damage you're gonna do before he gets up out of there. But
Yeah.
he just set the leadership of the country set a tone that allowed it to get worse and worse and worse, which affected us all. It's a trickle down effect. Starting there and it just trickled down and affected all of these industries in various different ways. But production's back and rolling. You know what I'm saying? I ride on my bike through LA. I see productions going. Everybody's got on masks and face shields and they're spread apart. You know what I'm saying? And you do what you can to protect everybody on the set with the crew and the cast and so forth. And it's a whole different type of production now because you all aren't on in the van moving, going to a location. Everybody's kind of in their own little bubbles and so forth. And it doesn't stop once you leave set, because what you do at home can directly affect what happens on set. So you really just can't be out here all willy-nilly either. So everybody kind of has to constantly be responsible 24/7. There are no days off. We're like, I'm going to hang out with my friends and be responsible and then come back to work. It just doesn't work like that right now.
Yeah, in September, I was on my first commercial in production in general, and I was actually on the COVID compliance team. And so now when I think about it, like, you budget for production, but now you're adding another 6 figures just for COVID compliance, or depending on how large your production is. And we had about like 80 people. And so like the process that we had to go through, like I had to make sure people checked in with me in the beginning before they went anywhere. They had to check in with me after lunch. We had to change wristbands. And so I think about all of that. And I also think about, and it just came to mind, and I don't know the full details, but have you seen any type of knee-jerk reactions, like how everyone kept talking about Tom Cruise going off on the crew members in relation to reportedly like somebody wasn't wearing their mask or wasn't following COVID compliance? Like, have you seen anything blown up like that to that extent? And like, what's the best way to handle something like that?
I mean, I haven't seen anything like that personally. And I mean, the overarching element over everything is everybody wants to work, being shut down March 13th for 3 months, 4 months, allowed everybody to just kind of sit still. And, a lot of folks, it reminded them why they love to work. And for some folks, it let them know that it informed them that this may not be for them. You know what I'm saying? So there was a renewed vigor when we got back on set. So everybody kind of holds each other accountable. You know what I'm saying? And everybody knows what's at stake, because we get shut down. For a lot of the crew, the checks will stop going. You know what I'm saying? And nobody wants to not work for any period of time outside of it being their choice. So I haven't seen much of that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I personally haven't seen much of that. And like I said, when I was shooting in Vancouver, everybody was compliant. I mean, most people on the crew are compliant because no one wants to be responsible for shutting down a production that will affect not just the show, not just the network, but the cast, the crew. These are, these are jobs we're talking about. These are livelihoods. So people take that seriously. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't seen people going nuts like that. And I heard Tom Cruise's outburst. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I would love some more context about what happened before that led up to it and all that kind of stuff, because I don't know that. But I mean, there are some folks that don't really take it seriously. So I mean, it's unfortunate, but in extreme cases, calls for extreme measures sometimes. So I like I said, I don't know the entire situation. I just heard he went off, and sometimes you got to check folks, because like I said, one error can shut down an entire production. I mean, just bring it to a standstill. Like, you think I'll be working for the next 4 or 5 months, and then it's over. And you're scrambling like, man, I had this 4 or 5 months planned out, and now I got to go back and figure out, my next few moves. So, I mean, and especially because of the pandemic and everybody was dealing with so much uncertainty, like, I don't know where my next dollar's coming from. The government clearly isn't helping with these stimulus checks. You know what I'm saying? I don't know too many major cities where these stimulus checks in total can really do much for you. You know what I'm saying? So you can't really bank on anything like that. So, everybody wants to go back to what they know, which is their livelihood. So you don't want to compromise that.
Absolutely.
And it's also about, people talking to people that they work with, their coworkers, like, yo, we got to do this for this until this season is over. This is what we have to do. I mean, nobody likes wearing a mask all day. I mean, think about it. From sun up to sundown, you're wearing a mask 12, 14 hours. So you have to constantly take breaks where you walk away to get some fresh air, to drink water, to hydrate. Nobody wants to do that. I mean, but it's a sacrifice that you make for the sake of production and not jeopardizing anybody else.
How has your prep changed as a director on set now, right? Like I'm sure like the way you used to do things was like XYZ, but now that you have to think about things like what does that look like? How has all of this kind of upended, what you do?
Well, I'm big on prep anyway, but I'll say this because of some of the uncertainty. Like for example, 2 weeks ago, we were on a Monday. I was supposed to shoot these 5 specific scenes, and usually, if whatever time call is, I get there an hour early, just because if there are any curveballs, I can start preparing for them prior to call. And sure enough, I get there. They're like, "Yeah, we can shoot one of the scenes today. We got to shoot 4 more instead because of some issues regarding some other stuff." So you have to kind of plan overall. You know what I'm saying? And luckily for me, I've been working with my DP and AD, and we had kind of generally prepped the entire shoot. So I could pull from that. You know what I'm saying? So my shot list for the day was basically nullified. But I was able to pull from previous notes to say, okay, these are the ideas we had planned to do when we're going to shoot this stuff the week after next, but we can do it now without missing a beat. So to answer your question, you prep with more totality than just, okay, I'm going to break it down and prepare for this day and this day and this day. You got to have an idea for everything because you may have to pull up some scenes if you're going to shoot day 11 now on day 3. You know what I'm saying? So you just can't say, well, I focus on day 11 on day 10 or whatever. You got to focus on, you have to have everything in the clip ready to go because you just don't know what could possibly happen.
So 2-part question. What do you think are some of the long-term repercussions and benefits of the pandemic on the entertainment industry, right? Like the first thing I think about is like Black people are in. Let's hire all the Black people. Let's put them in places that they should have been in a long time ago, right? But what do you think repercussions and benefits of the pandemic on the entertainment industry?
Well, benefits, we were all sitting still when George Floyd was murdered, and we all were able to witness the civil unrest. So no one could say they didn't see it. No one could say, well, I missed all that. No, we were all at home and were able to acknowledge that, you know what I'm saying? And opportunities have come for people of color. They were long overdue. What I would do is I'm just sitting back to see the long-term effect. It's cool to be hot for a season, and that's happened before where Black folks get hot and get a little treatment. You know, when Black Panther made $1 billion, we got hot. You know what I'm saying? But for some long-term advocacy, you got to wait and see how that goes. But I will say studios, from my perspective, are making efforts to really push their diversity and inclusion into a legitimate rank. Sometimes it can be lip service, but what I've witnessed are, steps that look like legitimacy. But I'm holding my breath because, what was happening in 2020, 2021 could be a whole different ballgame. So it's just best to kind of look at the long term. Like, all right, let me see where y'all at. Okay, we got this year, but in 2 years, in 5 years, in 7 years. So you look back and say, wow, this person now has a career. This person has a career, and so forth. And how to create, legacy work where people are getting opportunities that can lead to careers as opposed to, well, you got a shot, and that was all they got was that shot. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't really equate to much long term. So it's really about that. Some of the cons, I guess, repercussions would just be the total. I mean, some people have realized, just some of my colleagues have realized that production takes so much out of your life. When you at home, you can watch your family and witness certain things that you don't witness because you're working 60 to 80 hours a week. It can change your pivot and make you focus on, okay, let me ask myself what really matters to me. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of folks were like, you know what? I thought this is what I wanted, but I'm gonna pivot and go do something else. So that's one of the repercussions. I can't say it's a negative thing, but it's just exposing and eye opening to some people. Where you realize, here's what I've been faced with, here's what I'm confronting, but this is what I ultimately should be going after. And some folks are making decisions based on that. So, but in terms of repercussions, productions have become streamlined. They always trying to trim the fat. They were always trying to trim the fat. Now they getting close to the bone if they can. They going for it. They chopping it up like, do we really need that? Nope, it's out of here. You know what I'm saying? So it's funny because to me it feels like production is getting towards the mindset of indie filmmakers. That's how it feels to me. You know what I'm saying? As an independent filmmaker, you don't have a safety net. So you don't think like you got a safety net. And now they're starting to move as if they don't have a safety net. Even though they do have a safety net, when you look at how much they're spending on COVID testing, I mean, some shows are spending $250,000. Some are spending up to $1 million an episode on COVID testing. So they have a safety net. They have contingency plans and things like that. But they're still thinking long term. Like, if we don't need this, let's get it out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's streamline this department, this crew, and so forth, so we can get the best without compromising the integrity of the production. But all the fat and the trimmings and all that, they're getting it out of there. Well, at least for right now. I think right now people are really just trying to endure this season and get to a point where they can just kind of get back to how it was before. Right now, everybody's just in survival mode. You know what I'm saying? It's not even about prospering. It's just about survival mode. And when I say survival mode, it's keeping the machine going, creating more content so you can get more things on the air, keep generating advertising revenue and so forth. Because it's a machine. And when that machine shut down, everybody was like, whoa, the machine has shut down. So it was really about what can we do to get this machine up and running again without it having to shut down ever again.
Well, speaking of content, movie theaters have been seen as cesspools for the virus. And I don't know when we're going to go back to movie theaters. What are your thoughts about the direct-to-consumer, right? Like, now the content is going straight to streaming services. Movies are going straight to these streaming services. TV content is going straight to these TV services. Is that going to help or hurt the consumers in the long run? Is that going to help or hurt a lot of the film industry or the studios in the long run?
Well, the studios are still going to be making money. So that's the bottom line. If it's generating, profit, that's the ultimate bottom line. Now, as a filmmaker, there's certain films I would want to see in a theater. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would hate to watch 1917 for the first time on a TV. I don't care how big the TV is. That's something you just want to see on a screen. But that's me as a filmmaker. You know what I'm saying? But I do know movie theaters are not going to be, nobody's checking for a movie theater anytime soon. Anytime soon. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's going to take a little while. I do think they're going to come back. There'll be more, event-based screenings. But this expedited the whole movies just dropping every Friday type of thing has really suffered from that. But I do think theaters will come back in some way, shape, or form. Just, I'd say the latter part of 2022 probably. Because next year I think it's going to be okay. Yeah, I think so. I mean, because think about it. You're in a movie theater with a bunch of different people. It's a petri dish for COVID that just run rampant. And no one's going to bring their family to a movie theater. You know what I'm saying? It's just like movie theaters, concerts, sporting events. Those events are so number one, they're non-essential. And number two, the risk for exposure is so heightened. No one in their right mind, especially if somebody at this point in time has lost somebody, they're not going to put themselves or their family or their friends in jeopardy like that. So because of that, movie theater, things like that is going to just be on a serious extended pause until there's some kind of a wrangling of this disease, and the cases have become gotten under control, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. Until then, no one's gonna be checking for it like that. But I mean, like movies like Tenet, I wanted to see Tenet in the theater, but I'm like, it's not worth it because they had theaters in Vancouver. I was like, I could go see it, but I'm like, nah, I'd be an idiot to go there and then contract COVID. Like, well, how'd you get it? I went to the theater. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. You really gotta ask yourself, is it really worth it long term? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to affect your livelihood and or anything like that. So those are one of the repercussions in that regard. And for consumers, I mean, the pandemic showed everybody wants content. Everybody was watching TV like crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like some shows I'd worked on, people had never seen before. They got exposed to, now they hooked on them. So there's always going to be a desire and a need for entertainment and things like that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, have you been filming a lot in LA, Vancouver, other places? Like, where have you been mostly? And
Vancouver, and I've been shooting in LA right now.
Okay.
And so which is crazy because when LA became the epicenter of the epicenter last week, it was like, yikes, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
And like I said, like you got to wear the face shield with the mask, and it's a lot. We trying to talk to an actor, and you're not trying to shout at them, and they can't hear you. Communication is effective, but it really can take a toll on everybody, and it can lead to a lot of frustration. And also, when you got a mask on all day, that can affect you inhaling CO2 all day long. It can affect your mood. So you have to take these moments to get some fresh air in without this mask because it can affect your mood, make you groggy, fatigue, you know what I'm saying? It can lead to, early stages of exhaustion as well. So there's little things like that you have to be mindful of when you're on set working nonstop. Little things like that keep you going. So.
Right. I mean, like with Cali, it's just, I think it's just the juxtaposition is like Cali was ahead of the curve. Then they listened to this man in the White House, and then all of a sudden they regressed. How are y'all still managing though? Like with everything shutting down and y'all basically going back to almost being like ground zero.
I mean, you just take it one day at a time. I mean, people are doing their best to just exist. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think California necessarily listened to this dude for it to surge up again. It's just, here's the thing. The difference between California and say New York or Chicago or whatever, our weather doesn't really change drastically. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty much 70 degrees every day in the daytime. It may get cool at night, but the sun is out. I mean, it rains maybe 15 times a year out here. So we have it's summer all year round. So when you move like that, you just expect that. So I think because back east, the cold weather forces people to kind of, hibernate, go in, whatever like that. But out here, you can go biking. You're just outside more. You have more options to be outside. So, but I don't really know why the surge occurred. I don't know if it's the strain of COVID has evolved, which could be the case. But it came back with a vengeance. You know what I'm saying? I mean, for the most part, people are wearing masks out here, and there's social distancing. People are. I mean, you got a couple young folks throwing parties and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's not crazy like that. But I can't speak for folks because I'm not really out there like that. I'm not really even trying to entertain that. Even during the civil unrest, where I wanted to be out protesting and contributing to this movement, I was like, COVID's still here, and I can't, I can't put myself in harm's way like that for the sake of my family. So you have to you constantly have to be responsible and make those decisions.
I know it. And so, lastly, Carl, what's next, man?
What's next?
Mm-hmm.
You said what's next? More work. The machine doesn't stop. You know what I'm saying? Here's the thing: people act like, oh, it's over. It's over. It's not over. It's just modifying. It's modifying and it's pivoting, and you have to figure out how to pivot with it. You know what I'm saying? That's the main thing. A lot of people, a lot of folks think it's the end of this. It's not. I mean, because if you look at the ratings of shows and how content has been, received and things like that, you realize like, no, there's a desire, there's a need and a hunger for this content. It's not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So, and when you have productions like, okay, we're going to figure this out so we can keep going, you just figure out like, let me figure out how best to be as productive and effective as possible in this climate. And it's making you a better storyteller. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning from it because I'm like, okay, it makes you really think about this is what matters. This doesn't matter. Here's how we can do this to get this and this and to get that and so forth. So you're constantly evolving. You're constantly learning. So it's not really over like that. I mean, it can get dour at times, but it's not over. It's far from over. It's way too much production going on. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm working. I'm booked until May. You know what I'm saying? Until further notice. I got several shows I'll be doing soon. So it's not like people are like, we're gonna put this on pause indefinitely. Nobody's saying that. So, it's work out there. It's just really you just have to be strategic, you know what I'm saying? And for, up and coming filmmakers, this is the best time for them to really kind of get out there, tell their stories and get their stories seen by folks that normally are working or busy that may have time to watch it. And not just watch it, but send it to somebody else who can watch it that may be able to move the needle for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Make our money, Carl. You booked till May, booked and busy. Come on, make our money, Carl. Make our money.
Hey, just grateful to be employed. That's all. Grateful to be employed. You stay humble, stay active, stay hungry. That's the best way to do it. You don't tout the home runs and you don't mourn the strikeouts. You just keep it moving.
I love that. Are you, when you get to a place where you feel like it's safe, are you going to jump back into your own personal filmmaking?
Yeah, with the right problem. I got my own things I'm lining up as well. You know what I'm saying? You never just rest on your loins and say, well, I got this covered, so I'm chilling, I'm putting my feet up. No, you really got to it's a marathon. So you constantly keep thinking about ways to expand yourself. You know what I'm saying? And as the more you go, the more you learn. And when you expose to more things that you learn, you're like, oh, okay, here's how I can apply this to what I'm trying to do. So that when you make moves, you're not regressing, you're constantly moving forward.
Right. Carl, even though you're not on social media like that, where can they find you and learn more about the things you're working on?
Mr. Carl Seaton. That's my handle on Instagram, Twitter. I'm not the most active still. I'm still not the most active.
At all.
I'm not the most active. No. I mean, I'll post every now and then just to let you know. Like I got an episode of Batwoman coming up in January that I'm excited about. It really turned out really well. But other than that, I don't really do too much in regards to social media. I mean, I've learned social media can be it's a great way to waste time. You know what I'm saying? It's a great way to waste time. It's like fast food. It has no nutritional value sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, during the pandemic, like, okay, what really matters to me? Like, you can scroll through pictures for hours. And you put your phone down, like, what have I done today? And you don't even remember. So I'd rather just go pick up a book and learn something that I can apply to my life, or talk, or have a conversation that's gonna make me better than just scrolling through. You know what I'm saying? And I know it affects the psyche in some way, shape, or form. And it's got to be in the negative light, because it makes you apply a degree of self-judgment. It makes you more self-critical of yourself, which can attack your self-worth and self-esteem, I'm sure, in some cases. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is comparing themselves to somebody where they want to be. So that can't be healthy if you're constantly bombarding your brain with those messages throughout the day.
I definitely agree. Well, glad that you're on social media, because Clubhouse has become a new thing where people kind of plug into audio conversations.
I joined Clubhouse. I haven't listened to any yet. That's not, once again, it's another way. I've heard it's really productive for some folks, but
Carl, it's the biggest distraction ever. Like, it took me a long time to get to it, because I was just like, if I open up a room, I'm not going to get anything done, because I'm just going to be over here listening to what's going on. And so I just, yeah.
So I haven't really jumped into any of those conversations yet, because like I said, it can serve as a, I mean, some things, any tool you have, a phone, Clubhouse, whatever, can be tools of information and knowledge, but they can also be distractions. So if you can define the difference between the two, so that you're constantly benefiting from them, then you're good to go. But I haven't really jumped into the club. I mean, it had a degree of exclusivity about 2 months ago. Now it's everybody on there now, so it's like it's basically another Instagram type of social media platform.
I mean, you still gotta get pulled in, right? Like, okay, come on, tag, let me put you in. But yeah, they haven't opened it up yet still, like where you could just openly join just yet. So but Carl, you're booked and busy. You're booked and busy making our money, so you don't need to be worried about nobody's Clubhouse. Okay. I just want to be clear.
Okay. Copy you. Yes.
Try, Carl. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah. Truly. Oh, hey, Georgette, it's always a pleasure. You're real quiet today. I don't know what's going on, but you're silent. I'm gonna let it ride. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? But yes, it's always a pleasure as well, man. You know what I'm saying?
Carl, don't do me.
Yeah, but yeah,
we moved into a new apartment, Carl. Like, so it echoes. So I'm being mindful of that.
Oh, you don't want to scare your neighbors yet. Got it.
I can't stand you.
Understood. It's all good. Yeah.
Carl, I wish you well. I'm gonna be out here looking for you, because you're working on what? So you're still on Batwoman. What else are you working on, real quick?
I'm currently working on Snowfall. Yeah, season finale is Snowfall right now.
Word. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you still doing Supergirl or no on CW?
They're shooting the final season right now, and I wasn't able to get back up there because of schedule. I'm booked on some other shows in the country, in the States, so I won't be able to get back up there.
Oh, they're in Canada. Okay. Supergirl.
They're in Canada. Yeah, they're in Vancouver. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's what's up. Well, congrats, Carl. Like I said, we looking at what you're doing.
Well, thank you, George. I appreciate it. And I'm loving the Black and Nuanced, the podcast. It's entertaining. It's insightful. So keep on going. Keep spreading the melanin, superpower, and helping people become the best of themselves. So that's what's up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Carl. I'll hit you up sometime in 2021 for something.
I'm sure. I will probably see you, because I'll be in New York soon. So I'll probably see you. You hear me?
No, hit me. I'll get a Rona test and everything. This is the new way of life. Where's your Rona test? Right here, Carl. Right here. Hit me up.
Sounds like a plan.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Later.
Okay. Bye.